Welcome to Mishnah study Masechet Rosh Hashanah Perek Bet Mishnah Vav. Over here in this Mishnah, we're going to discuss examining the witnesses, right? How would they do so? And if you look at Rambam over here in this Mishnah, he actually goes to much length, speaking about discussing what exactly they were doing. Now, Kiddush HaChodesh, according to the Jewish religion and tradition, right? Hashem came to Moshe, he said, Kazera v'kadesh, this is the new moon, and this is how you have to go ahead and sanctify it. So we are able to figure out, based on a certain calendar system, um, the exact time of when the new moon would appear. And we would use this. Even in the times of the Mishnah, they would actually take that calculation into consideration. And if Edim came and it, coincided with their calculation, then they know, okay, they're good. We can ask them all these questions, right? Cross-examine them. But let's say they know for a fact that they're not supposed to see the moon today, and they receive these witnesses that are trying to, sketch them. They know right away that they're a desheker and they're, either hutim or minim that are trying to really change the calendar system. As we know, there was much fights around the calendar. Hanabam, at the end of this Pirusha Mishnah, actually writes that he intends to write a lot more about this, and he does in the Mishnah Torah. In I don't know if that's what he intended when he wrote the Pirush Mishnah over here, but in Chot Kiddush HaChodesh, it's some of the hardest halachot and pirakim where he goes and explains how they got to this calculation. So our Mishnah, Ketzad Bodkin et Ha'idim, how do we cross-examine the witnesses? Zug Shebar Rishon, the first pair that comes of witnesses, Bodkin Oto Rishon. We check them first, right? We check him first. First, we take the older, the older one from the group. How'd you see the moon? All right, so yes, all these questions, right? And if you look at this quick diagram over here, you'll see when you have a new moon, the picture on the right, you don't see anything, right? The sun is all the way on the right, and there is no reflection, right, that we could see on Earth of this new moon. And then as it starts to wax, right, on the top right, you see a little slither of the moon, and that little slither is facing the sun, right? So that's why you'll always have the that darker side towards the earth, and the light side more open towards towards the sun. And it goes around. This is the first quarter. The full moon is in the opposite, right? The total opposite, when the sun is reflecting, on the on the moon itself, and from the earth's perspective, you see the entire thing lit up, and then it starts to wane at the end of the month, right? So that's the cycle of the moon. So now they asked them, where'd you see it? It's, right? Was the light facing the sun, or was the light, or was the light facing the earth? Which side was it on? Right? Was it north or south of the sun? Right? When the moon rose, was it north or south of sunset? How high was it? Was it 10 feet high, 100 feet high? What'd you say? Where was it leaning? Which way was it leaning? Right? Which way was the tip leaning? Each time would depend. How thick was it? How wide was it? So right? If he said lifnei hama, right, that the that if you go back to this picture, right, if he said it was lifnei hama, that the light part, the dark part was really facing the sun, and the light part, you see how it's reflecting towards the towards the earth, that's really the waning crescent. That wouldn't work, right? That means nothing, right? So then they would dismiss him right away. Right? Afterwards, right? What would they do afterwards? They bring the second person and they check in. If their words, right, they were equal, right? They said the same thing. Okay, then they have a great testimony, and they would use this. Everyone else that came in, they would ask them a few questions here and there. Not that we really need to hear from them and know that they're real witnesses. We don't want them to leave just disheartened that they came all the way here and they weren't even questioned. So they keep on coming in in future times, right? So this is what they would do. And Rambam actually over here actually takes a jab at some of the Geonim who wanted to say that, oh, we only rely on just the calendar, we don't need to have witnesses. That's not true. We see very here clearly from this Mishnah and other places there are much writings in our works in the Talmud, and probably that person who is who's saying that you only need the calendar was just doing it for argumentative purposes, but he also believed most probably that you also need to, one, it helps to have the calendar, and that's really what we rely on. But we also need the edim. We also need witnesses, right? As Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, "Kazera evekadesh." You have to see the moon, and then you could go ahead and sanctify it.